In the barren heart of Myanmar, a surreal metropolis rises from the dust, a vast fortress-like maze of deserted boulevards and monolithic buildings shimmering in the heat. This is Naypyidaw, the eerie purpose-built capital of one of Asia's most isolated nations. But why does a city built for over 1 million people stand virtually empty? What secrets lurk down its vacant mega-highways? And why did Myanmar's military dictators construct this ghost city in the wilderness? Naypyidaw is a city that should not exist, an extravagant capital scratched onto the plains just 20 years ago at the whim of Myanmar's totalitarian generals. As you traverse its jaw-dropping scale, one question haunts the mind. Where are all the people? Naypyidaw sprawls like a supernatural mirage. 10-lane highways lead to nowhere, and gargantuan hotels stand utterly empty. Is this dazzling metropolis real, or just a strange authoritarian dream? Built in utmost secrecy, Naypyidaw embodies the grandiose psychology of Myanmar's former military regime. But now, as democracy stirs, the city's fate remains suspended. Will life and spirit ever flow down its vacant avenues? Can this eerie ghost capital ever become a real city for the people? Naypyidaw mesmerizes the gaze, a hypnotic spectacle of vanished tyranny. Shrouded by secrecy and silence, this is the surreal true story of Naypyidaw, Myanmar's deserted megacity. Why did the generals build their capital here in the empty heartland? What paranoias and ambitions fueled its creation? And what phantoms now haunt its towering facades? The mysteries of Naypyidaw run deeper than its empty 20-lane highways. This bizarre metropolis defies the gaze, provoking fascination and fear. Buried in its deserted halls are secrets yet to be uncovered. The year was 2005. Out of the blue, Myanmar's military dictatorship issued a startling announcement. The nation's capital would be moving some 320 kilometers north from Yangon to the dusty rural plains. There was no public consultation or debate. Overnight, farmers were forcibly evicted as bulldozers carved a grand city from the shrublands. Just 3 years later, the regiment ceremonially inaugurated their surreal new capital, Naypyidaw, the seat of kings. But who was this city for? Why spend billions constructing an eerily deserted metropolis in one of Asia's poorest nations? Was it paranoia that fueled its creation? Or megalomania? Perhaps the junta imagined Naypyidaw as a bastion against democracy, a surreal statement of authoritarian power. Yet 15 years on, as Aung San Suu Kyi's elected government cautiously dismantles military rule, this bizarre ghost city drifts on, part Orwellian dystopia, part dysfunctional dreamscape. The scale of Naypyidaw is bewildering. 6-lane highways lead to nowhere, and emptied football stadiums sag in the tropical heat. The city supposedly has a population of over 1 million, yet its vacant 10-lane boulevards stretch to the empty horizon. Gleaming shopping malls stand entirely devoid of shops. At the eerie Gem Museum, tourists gaze at a vault filled with pearls and rubies worth millions. Utterly alone, Naypyidaw's strange isolation is intensified by its almost complete lack of public transport. Visitors must hire cars or bicycles to traverse the city's vacant expanses. At the time of construction, Naypyidaw was shrouded in total secrecy. The project relied on forced labor. Entire villages were pressed into service, ordered to toil on the desert-like worksites in the scorching heat. When the city arose, its architecture expressed the generals' eccentric mix of paranoia and megalomania. The Parliament building, for instance, is a gigantic edifice surrounded by moats and bunkers. The 14-story Ministry of Foreign Affairs resembles a top-secret spy headquarters. Perhaps the most surreal sight is the 20-lane highway leading to Naypyidaw's Central Hotel. In a nation struggling with desperate poverty and underdevelopment, this ridiculous overcapacity symbolizes the junta's grandiose disconnect from reality. Yet sometimes, the capital echoes the most chilling dystopias. Mass rallies are still staged on Naypyidaw's vast plazas, where crowds of soldiers salute the distant generals on the podium. But why did the regime go to such lengths to create this surreal capital in the wilderness? Some say it was sheer vanity. The generals wanted to create a legacy fitting for their egos. Others argue Naypyidaw was built to entrench military rule, a custom-made seat insulated from the masses. Yet the city's location also reveals the aging junta's fears. Naypyidaw lies deep in the nation's ethnic Bamar heartland, far from rebel-held borderlands. The silent streets betray anxiety. This is the stronghold of a regime that rules through oppression, not consent. Perhaps the generals felt the need to retreat somewhere remote, building a capital without people to avoid another uprising like 1988's suppressed revolution. Naypyidaw is like a ghost of the junta's paranoia, a surreal monument to its psyche. Yet Naypyidaw's future remains unclear today. Under Aung San Suu Kyi's NLD government, glimmers of change are emerging. Her party wants to revive the deserted capital, injecting life into its soulless boulevards. New cafes and shops are opening, along with a growing civilian population. But progress is slow. The city feels stuck between eras, its empty newness clashing with its authoritarian origins. Can this mega-city created by fiat ever gain a sense of community? Will it remain the general's haunting legacy? Naypyidaw confounds the gaze. This ghost metropolis seems almost surreal, like some strange mirage shimmering in the heat. For now, behind its formidable defenses and watched by rifle-toting soldiers, the secrets of Myanmar's desert capital remain buried in silence. This is the bizarre true story of Naypyidaw, Myanmar's surreal and near-deserted capital, carved from the wilderness by military fiat. When the junta first unveiled it 15 years ago, the city was shrouded in secrecy, a mysterious stronghold designed to entrench authoritarian power. What motivated the generals to construct this mega-city where none had stood? Naypyidaw is like a hallucination, a metropolis conjured like magic from the emptiness. As you drive its vacant 20-lane highways, the scale is simply astonishing. Gleaming hotels, ministries, and malls rise from the plains, imposing, yet often empty. Naypyidaw spans some 7,000 square kilometers. That's large enough to fit Singapore, Bangkok, and Kuala Lumpur combined. Yet where are all the people? The junta envisioned their capital as a seat of royal grandeur, fit for modern monarchs. Yet Naypyidaw better resembles a supernatural wasteland, a cityscape without inhabitants. Behind its fortified defenses, the city evokes the psychology of Myanmar's former despots, at turns grandiose, paranoid, and surreal. Naypyidaw's spaces overflow with absurdity. There is a 24-hour shopping center entirely devoid of shops. A motorway of 20 lanes leads directly to the central hotel. The parliament building resembles a bunker, encircled by moats. It seems the junta's architects were tasked with designing structures to inflate the generals' egos and secure their grip on power. Yet Naypyidaw also betrays the regime's fears. What despot is so afraid of his own people that he hides in the emptiness, surrounding himself with empty extravagance? The new capital lies deep in ethnic Bamar lands, far from restive border regions. The generals hoped sheer distance could protect them from another popular uprising. So Naypyidaw stands suspended in time, a surreal legacy of dictatorship. Roamed by military ghosts, the city almost feels hostile to inhabitants. A place designed not for living, but for fiat, power, and control. Yet today, tentative green shoots of change emerge. Naypyidaw's streets now host flocks of birds and stray dogs. Sidewalk cafes sprout as locals tentatively reclaim the city. Naypyidaw's future remains uncertain. Can this artificial capital ever acquire a human soul? Will it fade as the junta's grand folly once democracy flowers? Or will the city remain eternally frozen, expressing Myanmar's unfinished history? This ghost metropolis still guards its secrets, yet it compels our curiosity. This mega-city conjured from nothing by authoritarian might. Naypyidaw is a hypnotic monolith, repelling yet irresistible, an ominous marvel emerging from Myanmar's mists of memory.